And let's start with the Big Ten championship game, which number 2 Michigan opened up as a double-digit favorite and ends up getting that win against Iowa 26-0. And I think the 0 is much more impressive than the 26 for Michigan. This was not any kind of an offensive performance for Michigan to write home, but it was a vintage Big Ten performance in a Big Ten title game. And, not for nothing, Iowa kept this one closer than the last time that they played Michigan in the Big Ten title game, which was 2021, which was the first Big Ten title that Michigan had won since we started doing this thing of playing conference championships, in Indy, right? So now we're looking at a Michigan team that since then has won 3 consecutive Big Ten titles, which is kind of phenomenal when you take into account the journey that Jim Harbaugh and that program have been on since he was hired, and certainly since that disastrous 2020 year. But tonight, this did not feel like the kind of Michigan team that I was hoping we would see, where you are the demonstrative number 1 overall team, regardless of what Georgia or Alabama, Florida State, Washington do in their respective conference championship games. But also being up just 10-0 at the half made us believe that Iowa might have a shot to get into this game, as it's just 2 scores. And even for them, that's not that many points. I mean, we're talking about a special teams play or a pick 6 of some sort, really changing the momentum of this game. But you got to see Iowa get the ball back in the third quarter. And then, we get the most controversial game we got all night long, in that game at least, where Iowa had a pass that was first ruled incomplete on the field. We go to commercial, we come back, and Joel is having to explain to us what had happened during the commercial break, which is that the officials had overturned the call on the field upon review. Offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz lost his mind on the sideline, as well as he should, but he should not have picked up the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, costing his team an additional 15 yards and putting Michigan in great position to take a 17-0 lead, which they did, with Blake Corum really trying to get past that Anthony Edwards total of 55 total career touchdowns. He ended up scoring, but you get the point here. Was more about that play probably took away any momentum that Iowa might have had to get back into this ball game. Now, that said, this is an Iowa team that Penn State beat 31-0. And we know what Michigan did to that Penn State team, and you were expecting Michigan to drop at least 30, right? 35, more than Penn State, and hold the goose egg. I don't think any of us were shocked by the goose egg, because Iowa's offense is, quite frankly, offensive. And the reason that Brian Ferentz might have been losing his mind is this was his best opportunity to win a Big Ten title at Iowa, and perhaps his last as an offensive coordinator. So this is also a job interview, no matter what he's doing as a position coach or an offensive coordinator elsewhere. But I think that call should not have been overturned. I also think that it wasn't going to change what we all thought was inevitable, that Michigan would beat Iowa and that Michigan would move to 13-0. What was really going to be interesting is who would Michigan have to play in a college football playoff setting. We got one team that might figure into that. We'll talk about them in a bit. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.